Let us begin. The time is now 6:07 p.m. and I'm calling the June 11th Policy Committee meeting of the Board of Education to order. I guess the first order of business is a review of the minutes. Ian, Beverly, do you have any comments on the proposed minutes of our last meeting?
I'll just make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'm not sure. Bev, I can't. You have no voice nor image. Anyway, I'll second the motion.
When I wasn't there, so and on the minutes it says I was absent. So
okay, I'll second the motion. All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Yes, I'm a aye in favor. Yes.
Okay. All those opposed? All those abstaining?
abstain.
So the vote, the minutes are accepted, 2 in favor, none opposed, 1 abstaining, and Beverly's indicated that she was absent, and that's the rationale for her abstaining. Let us move on now to old business. The first order of old business is discussion of P 5141.5 suicide prevention intervention. I think we have the latest version in front of us. Bev and Ian, I'll start with the two of you. Do either of you have any comments on the reproposed item?
I don't. I read it this afternoon, and I see you inserted bullying. Was bullying not there? Wasn't that something somebody asked us to put in? Was bullying?
Mike did, but I don't see it in here yet. That would be something you could put in. Okay. Actually, bullying is in the second paragraph.
Right, I saw that.
Social and other oral cultural values, e.g. bullying. The question is, are you satisfied with that as enough of a reference?
Nope, it seems fine to me.
Yeah, likewise. I'm good with it as it is.
I had one question, and I'm on number 5 of the risk factors and the Mike's recommended or other related identities. I don't like words like related because they're marshmallow words. They can be read differently by different people. If the intention, and I'm not trying to say that this is Mike's intention, but if his intention was to say gender related identities, then let's state it as such. And I would invite Susan, Denise, and anybody else who wants to pitch in to help us decide if that's something we should massage or if you prefer to leave it as it is now.
No, I agree with you, Matthew. I was questioning the reasoning behind that until you just explained it. So I think it's very confusing the way it's written right now with just identities.
But if it's gender related identities.
Yeah.
So is there, go ahead.
Go ahead. Right, is that the full word?
Well, that would be the change I would recommend, is delete the word related and insert gender related.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Beverly, it looks like you're trying to say something.
Me. Oh, okay. Denise, what does it says lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning? What does that mean? Questioning. Somebody that doesn't know what sexual orientation that they are?
Precisely.
Yeah, I think it refers to students who might be transitioning. Sometimes when they're transitioning, they're questioning and they're kind of experimenting with different names, different identities. Yes.
Okay.
I'll speak very personally. I hope this is a not inappropriate sharing, but when I was 8 and 9 years of age, I thought being a girl would be a really nifty thing to do. That could be construed as questioning. I did outgrow it, but I do understand questioning.
I don't know if it's not illegal, but I don't know if it's a commonly used term. I'm going to do a little Google search here.
I feel like
Yeah.
it is. I think it is a commonly used.
Okay,
I have heard it as well, Denise.
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Do the Google search anyway for me, Denise.
I will.
Thank you.
Good catch, Bev.
Well, I was just wondering what questioning was.
Yeah, it
You know
has,
those bumper stickers, question authority? There you go.
I think so. So the National Institute of Health has LGBTQ, and which I'm familiar with, and the Q is queer/questioning.
Okay. But we don't have queer there. Should we put queer?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think the Q could be either.
So should we add queer? Lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning? Queer, I always thought queer was like a slang word. When somebody was gay, you called them, oh, you're queer. So, so now it's
Is it
really a
pejor-
word.
Yeah, I'm
There's
Well-
seeing
something
it.
pejorative about the word. There's something
It's-
pejorative about the word.
Yeah, I'm
There were-
seeing
there-
it.
well, it's one of those words that was pejorative at one point in time, but has been claimed and taken now as a term that is one of pride. That is an identity that some
Yeah,
people identify as.
I'm
So
seeing it
that-
on many websites. I'm
Yeah,
seeing
I
it
would say
on,
both.
yeah, I'm
But
seeing it
you
on
can say both.
psychiatry.org. I'm seeing it on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
s-
it's all over certain media that that is a commonly used term, and
Okay,
in that
Columbia
media.
University. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So Bev and Ian, I voiced one potential modification. Do you, either of you have, does either of you have, does either of you have a suggestion for the wording? Or Susan, or Denise?
Well, I suggest to add in the word queer.
Yeah, I think echoing like what Denise just read, having queer/questioning in place, to represent the Q
Yeah,
letter in the LGBTQ plus. That's sort of like what Q plus means in my mind, is queer/questioning,
So
and
would you,
yeah,
everything else.
and then Matthew, for the verbiage that we were just discussing, where we added other gender-related identities,
mhm.
the research is calling it. Oh no, I just lost it. Oh, another diverse gender identity.
Well, that
So I
sounds to me like psycho speak to me. It doesn't,
Just sharing.
yeah.
Well, if diverse we take to mean as like a variation of the word divergent, which is like away from the norm, which is like the cis type, CIS type approach towards looking at like cisgender versus gender nonconforming. Then I think diverse is a legitimate use of the word. I think that would
Okay.
fit. And
Okay.
again, like, and what was your source on that, Denise?
Yes, that source is youth.gov.
Youth.gov. What is that coming from? State?
It's sexual
All right.
orientation and gender identity, youth.gov.
That'd be a federal.
Let's
Well, maybe
see.
not.
Yeah, if it's coming from like a well-established advocacy group, then I'd feel comfortable with it. I'm not
Yeah,
totally clear.
it says youth.gov is the US government website that helps to create, maintain, and strengthen effective youth programs.
Okay. I think that's we're on firm ground there if we're leaning towards the federal government and
Yeah,
what's been established as like an advocacy language
yeah, and they said
on
they
the
have
official terms.
They said it has youth facts and evidence-based youth programs and keeps people up to date on the latest youth-related news.
Well, that's,
So it sounds pretty timely.
yes, agreed. I think that's the one.
Okay,
So we have lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer/questioning, or
another diverse gender identity.
other diverse gender identities.
Is it another or other?
It says another diverse gender identity.
It
think
doesn't
they
work
would only-
grammatically. It doesn't work.
I think they'd only have one though. I would make it singular.
Well,
another-
we're attaching it to a list of 5 other characteristics.
Right, but you're
Yeah,
talking about a student picking only one diverse gender identity.
Well,
It's plural. It says other related identities. This is just saying another diverse gender identity, and they would identify what that is.
Right.
Yeah, they would identify it any other one, and I
Like
think
the fur. Have
Andrea
you
would-
heard of the
Andrea
kids
would
who
be the-
identify as like cats? There's like this whole fur group. So I think that's what it's referring to, that there could be another diverse gender identity. It's one that the
Right.
kid, that the student might associate as.
Say it right, yeah.
I think Andrea would agree with me. We've got multiple items. We need to have anything that is attached with a conjunction would be required to be plural. And if we say other gender-related identities, that would include any other related gender identity. We can't let the tail wag the dog on this. We've got to be true to English.
Right. But the word "or" is like, like that separates us from everything else. So that just let the last term stand by itself.
Right, yeah. It sounds good to
So
me.
somebody want to
or
make a
another.
motion? And I'm not going to beat a horse.
Okay, I
No.
make a motion to accept suicide prevention / intervention, policy P5141, .5 or decimal 5, whatever you want to call it. To accept this,
Point of clarification, are you moving it as it was submitted to us or with any changes?
I'm moving it as amended.
Then please give us what the amendment would be.
Okay, the amendment would be number 5. For risk factors, number 5, it would say lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer / questioning, or another diverse gender identity. And that's what I have. Oh, my battery's gonna run out. Shucks.
I'll second that motion as amended. Or
Any
second
further
that amendment.
discussion? Is there any discussion?
So this can go next week to our regular meeting, which is actually going to still be in room 11. Until we can get the town to share their equipment, because it hasn't been working for us. But anyways, it's going to be the second reading. Remember, we did the first reading and we brought it back again so we could get it straight here. So this will be the second reading.
Could I get a
and-
vote? Could I get a vote on any further discussion on the content of this before we go to a vote?
I have nothing else to add.
Okay, all those in favor of the P 5141.5 as submitted with the amendments submitted by Bev Washington, please indicate saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. So we are unanimous 3-0-0. Okay. Did you want to add anything about the process, Susan?
Just that I think next week is our full regular board meeting. And this is a good time to go in and get this seconded so we can get this policy moving forward.
Okay. So moving on to discussion of P 5112.2 admission requirements. We have in front of us the issue of student passport was discussed at the last meeting, and Mike understood, at least I recall Mike understood why that was left out. Lauren, I believe, Lauren, you explained it to him?
Yes, so there's been some developments since the last time we got together. We were looking for, when we left, we had talked about adding at the last board meeting, a second column to verify an adult, for documentation to verify an adult, because the passport was missing that piece and we wanted to remove it from the proof of age, just to kind of bring you up to speed, just as a reminder. So I did have an opportunity after a lot of research. I could not find any legal evidence to support that we have to have families verified that they're connected with the child, believe it or not. I did, if you can imagine. But I did speak to the attorney from the state today, and he confirmed that is true. There is no policy or legislation that exists that says that an adult registering a child has to be verified to that child. So what this really comes down to, yep, and I have his name and he did verify that. What it does come down to is, what do we want to do as a board and as a community in terms of Groton? So there's two paths that we could take. We could leave the student passport in there and accept that it's not going to provide us necessary documentation of this child belongs to this adult. Because legally they don't necessarily, the only legal documents and things that need to be proven to register a child are proof of age and proof of residency. The second option is to remove it and almost eliminate the issue altogether. I mean, that's really, those are the two options. So I guess where do we stand with this?
Can you refresh my memory why we took student passport off?
Yeah, I was
So we
wondering that too.
So we took it off because student passports do not have the parent or the custodial person's name on it. We use it specifically for proof of age.
So why did you take it off where it says documents accepted for proof of child's age? You slashed off.
Well, that's the question at hand. So we can put it back in as long as it's understood that there's the potential that we're registering children and we don't necessarily know if there's no proof that the adult registering the child belongs to the child. You would assume in most cases they do. But I think that was more of a safeguard as a district. How do we want to approach that and handle it? Like, are you comfortable with that?
Okay.
So in other words,
I understand that, but the title says documents accepted for proof of child's age. It doesn't say anything about linking the child to the parent or to the guardian or whoever else. So it just says child's age, and that's what a passport will do, provide a proof of a child's age.
Totally agree. You are absolutely right. So we can keep it there. To add, I would caution you. So we did add that second column where it said verification of how, I think we worded it, documents accepted for parental guardianship verification. Legally, though,
page 2, Lauren.
Well, so we actually ended up taking it out because there was no legal language. Legally, we can't refuse or deny enrollment and registration because they can't prove that they belong to that child. We can't deny them registration because the goal is always, right? We want to make sure children are safe. We want them in school as quickly as possible. So that second column actually, I think, creates more barriers, right? In some ways, could potentially.
Well, and I guess the ultimate concern is that, you just don't know in this crazy world, if a child is ever kidnapped or abducted and put into a school and there's no connection with the person. I mean, I guess I'm overthinking it, but with the other documents, it absolutely does both. It has the age verification, but it also connects the child to whether it's a birth parent or adoption, or some kind of a guardian, legal guardian. So, the paperwork from the court. So you would have both. You'd have the idea that you'd have the child's age, and then you'd also have the connection. even though it's not legally required.
Is that what this square is supposed to be showing? The connection
No,
on the
it's,
first page?
it was actually meant for the age, but I think
Okay.
depending on what documents you put in there, you might get both. But with the passport, you don't get both.
All right, so either we have to change the title and then take out the passport, or keep the title
Use
in
for
and
proof
keep the.
because of the title. Yep. So
And-
really,
Lauren?
Lauren,
Or
you're
are we-
frozen.
Well,
Susan,
Lauren's working on that. I'm just wondering, should we put something on the heading that says how many of the documents listed are required? Is it only one?
it says one from A and one from B.
Right.
Oh, I think I'm looking at the wrong copy.
We're jumping down. I think
Yeah.
we're still on the first one, documents accepted for proof of child's age.
Oh, that's on page
Uh.
2. We're on page 1.
Yeah, we haven't got
Matthew.
one yet. I think we're kind of just, it's interesting to know that it's not legally required to prove connection between the adult and the child. However, you know, that may be something we have to address some other way, I think. If admission requirements, the legal requirements for admission are dictated by a power beyond us, correct?
The law.
Right, so this policy did that, I think. Now, if we as a district want to have a policy that wants to seek some documentation establishing a connection between an adult and a child for our own edification, so that we know that this is not like
sorry.
a child kidnapping or a kidnapping type situation, then I think that's a separate policy. If we want to determine, if we want to make it an in-district policy that we do want to document some connection between the adult and the child, a legal connection. But I don't think that can be done in this policy if this policy is just about admission. Because it sounds to me like the law does not require that documentation, so we can't require it in our district for admission. But if we want to add an extra policy as a subset to this, saying, by the way, as a district, we are interested to know, and we want to have documentation verifying what the legal connection is between the adult and the child, I think that's a legitimate conversation to have.
Well, and I think that the board has every right to decide which documents you want to verify age. And if you simply take off the passport, then you get the ones that will do both things for you without saying it. You get the age,
Which
but you're just not allowing the passport.
Well, the
which
passport,
was the recommendation of the
But-
attorney.
What
For the
happened? Lauren?
That
can you-
was the recommendation from the state's attorney. He said he would basically, his words were, why borrow trouble? If it creates issue, removing it. And I did explain that we were really we always try to align ourselves with CABE, and CABE had added passport to their policy. And that was why we put it in there. But his recommendation was to take it out. And I'm still waiting to hear back from CABE about their rationale for adding it.
And Lauren, can I ask a question? I think you had lost your connection when I was asking it. Should we put something at the top that says how many of these documents they have to provide? Is it only one?
Yep, just one document.
Okay. Should we specify that?
You can.
Okay.
Susan,
I-
go ahead, Beth.
That's Beverly.
Now, I don't want to beat this down, but I don't understand why we can't accept passports. Because when you get a passport, you have to send proof of age. You have to send in a birth certificate, if I'm not mistaken. So
You
why
do.
would the attorney say not to accept a passport if it says proof of age?
Maybe
It's a
because,
federal document.
but maybe Bev, because somebody who's not the parent could take that passport.
Let me
but
weigh in for a minute.
Then I say, let's change this title so it doesn't say proof of age, because a passport does say proof of age. Now, unless you just don't want to use it, and that's what you're saying, you just don't want to use the passport.
but that
But
gets
I-
to the problem.
Wait, whoa. Let Beth finish, and then I'm going to take a turn.
No, I'm done.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying.
I'm going to take a turn. The presumption that I'm hearing, though nobody said it, is that it's a U.S. passport. It could be a passport from Ecuador, could
That's
be a
right.
passport from someplace else. And it may be the only identification the student has that has any proof of age. What's more, in terms of the business of kidnapping, I think that's not impossible, but far less likely than what is happening all across the border, unaccompanied minors coming into the United States and going to an uncle, an aunt, or a friend of the family somewhere. And if a child has come into the United States legally or illegally, and they're with their family's friend in Groton, they may be illegal. A passport may be the only document they have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
No,
true.
that's a great point.
Mhm.
So I mean, I just wanted to circle back to a Bev's comment, and I agree with Bev's you know, assessment of the situation is that if we are asking for documentation of a child's age, the passport qualifies because it has that on. If we are looking for verification of the connection or some documentation explaining the connection between the adult and the child, I think that's a separate issue that cannot be addressed in this policy.
Mhm.
Because this policy is about admission requirements, which,
Right.
as we just discussed, those admission requirements are dictated by state law. So our policy cannot contradict state law. Now, I am also curious as to the state's attorney's reasoning why they recommend taking it out, because it seems like that's contrary. I mean, if it's a document of a child's age, the passport fits the bill. If
So
it's
he
a
didn't,
document, like trying to explain the connection between an adult and a child, that doesn't apply to admission. That's a different issue.
right. So as I was saying, he didn't say we cannot use it, we shouldn't use it. He just said why borrow trouble? Like if you're not having a difficult time getting other types of documents and it poses a problem for the district, and it is within our rights and purview to choose which documents we're willing to accept and not accept. I'm fine either way. I just wanted to present to you guys my findings after speaking with the attorney and the experiences that we have had. Again, it just goes back to, are we comfortable with this? And if we are, then we can put student passport back in.
What would you do if you have a undocumented student who only has a foreign issued document? I mean, that, to me, that's something we could run into any day.
And we often do get foreign issued birth certificates, foreign issued medical, educational records, and passports. So yes, we do receive those. And it is really about working with the families, and we do. So if they're missing something, we try to find some way to make that connection in another way. Because again, the goal is one, safety, two, getting kids in school as quick as possible, as long as they're residents. So
Yeah,
it's
Matthew, to answer your question, what I've seen several times in the summer when we're helping out in registration is they have papers from the Department of Homeland Security that indicate when they came into the country and who their host family is. So they do have documents from a government agency.
Mhm.
But that's not under the purview of admission requirements.
Well, there are documents that document their name, their date of birth, the country where they were born, who their parents are, and then who their host family is.
And do we consider the host family then the residency portion?
Yes,
Okay.
because
Do they have to sign an affidavit saying that they're going to host them?
Yeah,
They go
because
through
they've
that
been
process.
assigned, they've been given the child officially.
Are we at the point that one of you folks would be interested in making some motion of some sort?
Well, just to circle back to what Denise just said, the that paperwork that what would that be called? A host family agreement?
Well, that's a secondary form. The first form is a document from Homeland Security indicating that the student is, I think they use illegal foreign alien. And
Oh.
they've been admitted and allowed to stay in, they're outdated forms. They've been admitted and allowed to stay in the country. I have seen those and we have accepted those.
Okay,
But that's not on our list.
right.
Right.
So we almost would, I mean, in my mind, I guess we would have to add passport back in and then add some terminology to describe that document.
Right.
Could we say, would you be comfortable, Denise, if we said student passport or Homeland Security documentation?
Yeah, I'm gonna look back in my friend Google here.
So I want to give time for Ian I want to give time for the discussion on the non-lapsing fund. That's something I think we need to do tonight.
So we could include state issued documentation because that would then cover all documentation. So we do get forms from DCF that have that, you know, they take custodial rights over children. So they could potentially, that information could be on there, the date of birth, all of that.
Yeah.
That would cover Homeland Security. So could we
Yeah.
put something along lines of state or federal issued documents and leave it a little broader so it covers all of that?
Yes, I like that.
Instead of passport?
Right, because that'd be covered by the federal umbrella.
But what if it's a foreign passport?
It's still a federal document coming from a different nation. Just
It's a
trying to,
national document. It's not a federal it's not a US document.
right. So I guess, yeah, federal may not be the right word. State, federal, or other national document.
And that would, and a passport would subsume to that.
I believe so.
You could put
Yeah,
in
I think
parentheses
so.
just to make it more complicated or maybe more clear, i.e. passport. We're back to where we were. Full circle.
Well, I think we
Hey,
know what we want to do. I'd just like to see if somebody would just like to make a motion and that we can consider.
I'll let Ian do that.
Well, I just want to make sure that we're good on the terms. You know, I'm fine. You know,
We'll discuss it if we're not. Go ahead.
all right.
Rock on.
Did we actually make a motion to discuss this thing, or is this?
Well, would be you making a motion to adopt you'd be making making a motion to accept P blah blah blah, modifying the student passport to read whatever you wanted to read.
Got it. Okay, so I'll make a motion to adopt P5112.2, modified to read to include state, federal, or other national documentation.
Second,
Further discussion.
Lauren, did you and Denise get that all down?
And I'll make
I'm
Erica,
looking
this change would be on the front page in the third box where it
That's
now
right.
says student passport. That's where this change would be.
so Lauren, how do you feel about that wording? Say you're another board member. Would you have any concerns about that wording?
No, I think that covers the bases.
I think we just have to make sure our enrollment front office was clear on what that really meant, that, you know, i.e. passport or Homeland Security. I mean, I don't know if there's anything, maybe we can put it in a regulation that
Is
these
there
are
a
the
way to-
kind of things that could suffice so that people are
that's a
really
good
clear.
idea.
Yeah,
Right.
I think
That's a good idea.
under the nationality, that's clear to us. It might not be clear to somebody in an office that we're talking about a potential foreign entity's national identity. So
Mhm.
that would be in the regulation, I think.
Okay.
Okay, not here. Last call for further discussion. Okay, all those in favor of the motion as amended by Ian, please indicate by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. So it looks as if we have 3 in favor, none opposed, and no abstaining. Thank you very much. We are now moving on to discussion of new business, P 3171.1 non-lapsing education fund. With your permission, I'd like to turn this over to Ian to lead the discussion on this. Would you moderate the discussion on this, Ian, since you have far more depth than anybody else?
Sure.
Ian, excuse me, can I just interrupt to say goodnight? I'm going to sign off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night,
you all.
Denise.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
Denise.
Thank you.
you.
Nice to see
And-
you all.
And Ray's on there too, so I'll ask him to also unmic because he's had some experience as well. So as Ian goes through this, we can also have his expertise as well.
Sure.
Oops.
So I'll just kind of jump into it. I see Ray on the screen there, so I think we're all here.
Yep.
So yeah, the draft version labeled non-lapsing reserve account for educational capital expenditures. That was a draft I just kind of cobbled together based on some other language I found during my research when it was a two-headed beast. The history of this used to be the non-lapsing fund used to be a thing that had to be approved by a board of finance or a town council or financial oversight body that then allowed the board of ed to funnel money into that account and then withdraw money with certain stipulations. The recent legislation took off, removed the Board of Finance requirements and basically empowered the boards of ed to do it themselves. So some of this language was pulled from, well, all the language is pulled from the previous versions that had the Board of Finance or Town Council or RTM approval required in there. So I try to modify the language to suit the new parameters of just being Board of Ed. So there may be some typos and stuff in there. And also some of the numbers, I'm not sure if we can actually go up to 5% in the second paragraph. So that's something I'd want to get some verification on, hopefully from Ray. And I see the cave sample on the page after that, which is, I'm glad to see. That's something to, some of the research I did, some of these things were like 3 pages long. Some of these were 3 paragraphs long. Some were 3 sentences long. So, you know, it can be as complex or as simple as anybody wants it to be. But I think there is some value in having some checks and balances put into it so that there is like sort of an approval process and a review process and also like making sure that there's some sort of like verification that the funds are indeed excess to the year. So that's what I attempted to do with my draft version, and I'm more than happy to hear feedback and take notes. And I could even, if we wanted to, I could share the screen and pull up the Word version of this and make edits in real time, if that's something that people would find beneficial.
Now, when you looked at the CABE version, do you feel like your version has everything in it that the CABE, because I apologize, they just haven't done, scrutinized it.
The CABE version, this is Ray speaking, by the way, is very simple. And it basically says you're allowed to put the 2% aside. That's about it. To answer Ian's question about the cap, to the best of my knowledge, there is no cap. You could put 2% if you had the 2%. And that you're allowed to put as much in there as you can. I know I did almost $500,000 on a $20 million budget over several years on my last position. But then again, this past year we didn't put any in. It all went back to the town, to the general fund. There just wasn't $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 wasn't enough to really make a difference. You know what I mean? And we would make, as administrators, we would make a recommendation to the board, which the board would approve. The max, I mean, I looked at, you actually did your homework quite well, by the way. You did a good job. I've,
He's been working on it for a while, I think.
well, uh, as you know, I'm an advocate of the non-lapsing. I don't think we would have been, or the district would have been in the position it's in if they had a non-lapsing account for certain items. But that's my personal opinion. I wasn't here other than for the last month. So, having said that, I want to caution. I would delete the allowable expenditures and go by the CABE ruling only from past, from a Board of Ed person, as
Mhm.
well as a business manager. I've gotten burned with the allowable expenditure section because depending on how you word it, for a budget, it could come back to haunt you. That's just my own personal experience. I've seen it happen.
Can you give us an example, Ray? What you're talking about?
And in other words, emergency conditions. What we may consider an emergency, someone in the public may not, someone the Board of Finance may not, someone with the RTM, regardless of how the hierarchy is set, the board may approve. And in other words, we had the board approve an emergency expenditure because we had a lot of parents screaming they wanted irrigation in our softball field. But
Yep.
came down with, I'm being serious. We ended up allocating $75,000 to redo the infield and run some irrigation. It was, that to me does not constitute an emergency. And the reason it just was one of those things. The board approved it, so we spent it. Those are the types of things that, if you're going to put allowable expenditures in there, I think the board needs to make that decision. I don't think you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into too big of an approval process. I think the simpler the better. Obviously,
Yeah.
the board the board is going to approve it. I do agree with your last paragraph. It would be part of your monthly object code reporting.
Either way,
Okay.
it's all documented. We had a technical difficulty.
Okay.
Now we're back recording
Uh,
the meeting. now.
But in terms of those capital items, I think that would be part of, and we would meet probably quarterly with the Board of Finance to discuss capital and capital issues. I'm not sure the process in Groton, but it's just one of the ways that I know 3 of the towns that I've been associated with have done it that way. So, but every town is different. So,
I guess, yeah, I guess, well, that would be my question, is because that's what changed, is that they, the new state law just took the Board of Finance or Town Council or RTM, the external bodies, out of the equation. So,
For this excess funding.
right.
for this
for
2%, right?
non-lapsing reserve account. So that means, like, the way I understood it meant like the Board of Ed could set up our own account that we designate as non-lapsing reserve. And, once we determine the funds are valid to go in there at the end of every fiscal year, we put them there. And then the approval process to withdraw, and this all is done internal to the Board of Ed, the business manager, and the superintendent.
Yep.
We've had, Ray, at least 4 items I can think of that have been on the CIP list for 3, 4, 5 years. Boy, that can's got a lot of dents in it.
Right. So yeah, and actually that's the biggest advantage, I think, to doing it this way. Or, I mean, now that the state, that's the reason, if you read the rationale and the documentation, I think that's in one of the documents that was included. Yeah, the Pullman and Comley article. They basically, specifically, that was a lot of legislatures were hearing from a lot of boards that they were being stymied. So even though they had the reserve account, that, whatever financial oversight body existed in whatever town would constantly say, no, no, no,
No.
even if it was a legitimate request within the parameters of the allowable expenditures, everything with every I dotted, every T crossed, they still would say no. Typical, parallel to how our CIPs somehow always end up on the cutting room floor. you know, this takes all that out. So yeah, I mean, it might challenge the town council's approval of our CIPs during our budget process.
Yeah.
It might say, they might defer, but I mean, how is that any different than what they've been doing lately, you
Right.
know? So
Mhm.
I don't think it's anything.
You got a good point. Got a good
Well, I
point.
think this year is a great example with the property damages and my going to John Burt saying these are really his properties. Can he help us? And there was very little help. I think there was a $30,000 help out of a $500,000 multiple monthly catastrophes. So
Yeah.
if we had non-lapsing funds like this, we could have taken care of it ourselves and we wouldn't be in this situation where we're going to have to fight for getting some of that money
Yeah.
and feel like, you know,
Well, it allows
feel
them to
faulted for
prioritize,
like it's our fault when it was
right.
just, you know,
Well,
Now-
I
now
don't
keep-
think the
Mother
board's,
Nature.
I don't think the board's gonna be against non-lapsing funds. I think most board members are gonna vote for this document.
Yeah, I think
But
so too.
I do agree with Ray about the allowable expenditures. Saying less is better, and that we're not like putting ourselves in a hole.
And I
So-
know, and every board is different, and I totally agree with you. It's just that I don't want to see you back yourselves into a corner.
Yeah, I
Get it
agree.
approved by the town and then say, well, you can only spend it for this, this, and this.
Mhm.
I mean,
So I'd
that's-
like
that's-
to offer, if you folks are in accord, that we take up Ian's offer and ask him to put on the document on the screen and see if we can.
Yeah, I like that idea
On the
too.
on the basis of the conversation thus far, either expand the CABE one or shorten the draft that you had, or both, whatever you want.
Give me a couple of minutes here and I'll just pull it right up. Let's see here. I'm gonna go off camera for a minute.
With the CABE
Um,
one, doesn't say anything about revenue sources that I don't know. Do you see anything about revenue sources in the CABE document?
No. It
No.
just says
So-
that it,
Yeah,
Go
so why don't we just take the CABE document and somehow just add revenue sources to it and all that allowable expenditures take out, except for the bottom paragraph that says at the end of the fiscal year, the business manager. I like that.
I heard you say, Ray, that you were thinking it should not be just the end of the fiscal year, but that it'd be a monthly update.
it's a monthly report. Yeah, and it's a quick and simple report. I mean, you're not looking unless you've got 500 or $500,000 or $1 million, you're not spending it constantly. I mean, you know what you spent it on, you know what you approved it on for the last 12 months. And then after a while, it becomes an annual running tally of what you spend and what your debits and your credits, what you put in and what you took out.
So we could put the word monthly in there somewhere.
Yep.
But I like that paragraph.
That's,
All right, so can everyone see the draft?
yes.
All right.
Again, you did a darn good job. I mean,
Thank you. Yeah, and honestly, like the allowable expenditures, that is older language that was back when I wrote it. I initially started drafting this back when it was the two-headed beast, and I was writing in a very conservative fashion that I thought might have a chance of passing the council.
Ian, can you put the K policy up there at the same time next to it so we can see what we want to do with the
Yeah,
K
hold on a second.
policy?
I think first and foremost, we want to just pluck this out of there.
I would remove that and this way.
I'm all in favor of that as well. Like I agree with the rationale that Ray put out there.
And then the maximum, that last sentence on the revenue source,
mhm.
I mean, it's up to you. If you think you need that to get it approved in the town, then leave it in.
We don't need the town's approval.
We don't need the town's approval.
This is what we want now as a
Yeah.
board.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
Right.
all right. So
I'm
you're
more than willing-
basically,
Ian, did you want to save this document now as V3 so that you've got the old document intact for yourself?
yes. Thank you for the reminder.
What about Ian, the fund, isn't that part of the fund is used for, isn't that all part of allowable expenditures?
It is So where do we
Because-
wanna stop cutting, I guess?
Well,
Because
let's
some
do
of
one
this-
paragraph at a time so we don't cut things that, we might need.
Right, so just to go off with the allowable expenditures, that following paragraph, the fund is to be used for capital and non-recurring expenditures. Expenditures from the account require approval by the board. So I think that just one sentence, we take that out, because that seems to be a continuation of,
Mhm.
right, so.
Is there any way we can take out that whole thing and just go to the CABE document and see if there's anything we want to add from your document to it? But the less we have for people to hook onto, the better we are.
Right, the better we are. That's what I say too.
All right, well, one thing I did want to have in there was make sure that we had sort of a check and balance, so that any request, let me see it. I don't
Maybe
know. So you
this
like-
is the more thorough document. We work on this and then we do the comparison of the two.
Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just,
and I honestly, I don't have the CABE sample uploaded to my computer. I'd have to like download it from the email and then re-upload to get it on the screen, which I could do, but
I can send it to you if you want.
that would make it on top. That would make it easier for me to get because it'd be right on top of my email. So yeah,
Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna go.
I'll go with Susan's. I like her recommendations. Like, you know what CABE is? We can leave that as CABE. Let's run through this,
Yeah.
edit this to our, like, what we feel is a good V3, version 3 of this document, and then do a side-by-side comparison of what CABE is versus this.
Excellent.
Okay, Ian, I don't,
Yes.
the paragraph that starts with the fund, where's that? What'd you do, Ian?
Oh, I took it out because that was an extension.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Let me see.
Okay,
One thing I
That's
want
where
to
that
ask,
sentence was. was right-
you just took off that word, right?
That
What-
one
you
sentence.
took, oh, the fund is to be used for, you took out that sentence, right?
Yeah, this
Okay,
one.
everything, okay, everything
that one,
after that,
Yeah.
everything after that, I like.
Okay.
Because
I
that's
do
your
too.
checks and balances,
right.
right there.
Exactly.
do we?
I like
okay.
that.
All right.
Actually, if we have an emergency, it's gonna be much quicker than 30 days anyway.
Yeah, right.
You're gonna,
Mhm.
I mean, you can
Yeah.
leave it in, but if we have an
It'll be that day.
emergency, yeah,
We'll
it's a
know.
special board
Uh,
meeting.
Right. And
Right,
there
okay.
is
Or a
Yeah, I
board
do
note
address
or an
that.
email.
I do address that contingency in the second half of that paragraph. Any such request to the board will be active. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. In case of an emergency
Mhm.
down here.
Or other extenuating circumstances. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
It
I
says
like that
it says
paragraph.
within,
Yeah.
what you had with the first part was within 30 days, which means it can be 10 minutes.
Yep.
Right, right.
Okay,
So
so
we can have an emergency and we can do it 10 minutes later and it's good.
You're gonna have a bottle filler explode in your brand new school on the weekend and you'll know right then. At
I
that
think you
time.
did an excellent job.
But I
Ian.
know, you'll know.
Now, Ray, how do you feel about the next paragraph upon the approval?
of the board.
Yeah,
I put on here,
do we need,
I marked up it's normal, that is normal general accounting practices and procedures, so, it really has no effect on me and it's just additional verbiage.
that's
We
what
would
I
have,
thought.
that to me replaces an internal process that we would do anyway. You know, what I mean?
Yeah, I thought it makes the document more wordy. So me personally, I would probably take out that paragraph.
All right, yeah, and then again, like this paragraph, I think came from a version that was very stringent, from one of the towns that was
Yeah.
very stringent.
and that's
It
one
would give the town an opportunity to argue that we really didn't have the authority that the legislation says we have.
I think as long as our in-house processes between me and the staff and the board are tightened up, because I don't know that we want to tighten ourselves too much and restrict ourselves too much when it comes to the town, although we are obliged to the town charter and our principles, our practices, Ray, really coordinate with what's happening, what the town's expectations are, right?
Now, let me ask one other question, because I would eliminate that paragraph totally, because it's not policy, it's more process related. And the process, we, as an internal group, we should be writing our internal processes to meet generally accepted accounting practices. That's my personal opinion, but
So
it's
that
up
would
to
be
you
the
as the,
regulation.
yes.
Yes. Yeah, I'm with that.
So, consensus of the committee, to remove that paragraph?
I'm in favor of removing it.
Sean,
Anything that goes beyond policy and goes into process would be either regulations or just an administrative function.
And the
And
next,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead, Ray. Go
And
ahead.
this is the part here where I said, as part of your policy, yes, we could add, in other words, at the end of each month and fiscal year,
Mhm.
business manager shall provide the Board of Education a financial report. Now, to make this sound more appealing to the town, a copy of this document shall be forwarded to the town council / T, what do they call it?
yeah,
RTM.
RTM.
Have
I
we
mean-
ever done that before? Do we know? I don't know.
Not that I
Yeah.
know of, but I used to do that in all my other positions.
But
I
I
mean-
do know that as a matter of practice, our regular meeting always includes the object code summary.
Yes,
And so it's
and it is
a public
posted.
document that really then is
Yep.
shared with all of the,
The world.
anything that's on the agenda is shared. That
Right.
attachment is shared with everybody, so it's happening.
Yep.
It is a
Right.
practice.
yeah.
it's
I
just-
mean, it's part of the agenda package of every regular meeting.
Mhm.
And I think with this adjustment, that makes, make sure that this would also be included with those object codes. So
Right.
anyone that wants a fiscal report of the board of the district can have it if they just look it up online and download it.
And right, and they'll be able to see it, right?
Yeah. So I
Um,
mean, I
So
think
are
it
we saying we want to make this a public document for all to see?
This would be part of the financial report that the Board of Ed, that I would give the Board of Ed or any business manager. In other words, instead of just the object code report, there would be a monthly report regarding the non-lapsing account.
Right.
Oh, okay, I see. I get it now.
So basically, I would supply two reports. I would supply a narrative with the object code report, and I would supply possibly a narrative with the monthly report here based on the expenditure.
But I imagine it would be a very small report.
Oh, yes, yeah, I mean, well, I doubt that you're gonna have any money to put in there this year. But
You think,
I'm being
Oh, yeah,
facetious.
right.
unless we get manna from heaven.
No kidding. God, I feel sorry for you guys. But
Ev?
Okay, on your last paragraph, closing the account,
Yes.
I've never seen that as part of the policy, but I
The
mean,
only sentence-
you should, I've never had to close the account because it's a running account. Some years you may have 50,000 in it. The next year you have a windfall. We tightened our belts real good. We have a balance of $500,000. You vote to move it into the non-lapsing. And now, does the town have to agree that you move it into the non-lapsing? That's the one thing I'm seeing missing here.
Well,
no,
I read the law. I don't think the town has to agree.
yeah,
Yes.
anything. The
And-
only sentence I would remove from that paragraph, Ian, what I personally don't like, is the board should not close the fund without a public hearing. I don't know
No.
why we need a public hearing. I
No,
take that sentence right
take
out.
that right out.
I think it dates back to the document that I pulled this from, which was the two-headed beast. So I don't think that it was written with the idea like the town couldn't close the account without the public being able to speak to it, therefore without the board being able to speak to it. But,
Man.
right, I think it's antiquated language because it doesn't apply in this context.
I would agree with you. I mean, it's good to
What-
have in
what-
there, closing the account, it doesn't hurt.
What positive function does that paragraph have? If we didn't have that and we wanted to close the account, are we blocked from closing the account?
No, you just close the account.
You just
So then
close.
why have this
Well-
extra language to
Well,
trip up?
Cape has it in their policy.
Oh, they do?
Cape does have it. Yeah, they have such fund may be discontinued at the recommendation and approval by the board, and any amounts held in the fund should be transferred to the general fund of the district.
I almost like the way that's said better. I don't know why.
So let's put that CABE language instead of the last paragraph.
Okay.
Do you want me to read that to you?
I'm assuming since, well, Bev, is that the consensus of the committee? I'm okay with it.
You okay with it?
Yeah, I'm okay with putting the cable language in there.
Oh, okay. I'm
They-
fine with you.
Do
Yeah.
you need that, do you need that so you can type it in now?
I'm looking at it right now. I got it. Stand by.
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to do it.
Your typing skills are much better than mine. I fat finger more. And believe it or not, on this laptop, the H key doesn't always work. And I
Oh,
go
no.
fat, dumb, and happy, and I'm like, what in the world? And believe it or not, this is the one subcommittee I used to hate to be on when I was on the Board of Ed.
I love this committee.
Do you?
I also
Oh.
like finance and facilities.
I like finance. Obviously, I like finance.
You're just saying that because I'm on the finance.
I know, because we always showed up in person. It was always a good committee, finance and facilities.
This is one of the key functions of a board, though, is the setting policy.
I know, it's the most important.
Actually, I'm going to change the word. I'm thinking we should change the word fund to account just to make it consistent with, because everywhere else I refer to it as the account.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So
Okay.
take out such and put in the.
Got
The account may be discontinued. Yeah.
So can I add, there's one other statement in the Cape policy that I just want to read off.
Sure.
Any expenditure from non-lapsing education fund shall be authorized solely by the Board of Education. Each expenditure from such account shall be made only for educational purposes. Do we have that somewhere already stated similarly?
Yes. Up
So
here.
does is educational purposes to be understood as instruction? Or
think
could
it's your third-
educational purposes be construed as to mean to make plumbing repairs?
All of the above.
Well, I think
Yeah.
plumbing repairs would count as educational purposes because if you got, you know, things
Okay,
Plumbing, you
going
can't.
where they should not to, then you can't have school.
So there's also, I feel like there's something missing. Any expenditure from the non-lapsing fund shall be authorized solely by the Board of Education?
I got it in there. Is
Yeah,
that
right there. That's it.
No,
right
there's
there.
not a by.
by the oh, got it. Thank you. All right. Is that a good place for the highlighted section, or is that sentence better placed somewhere else?
I think it should be front and center.
Right.
Actually,
I think that looks much better.
so
I
Ray,
like
what do you think of the difference between the CABE format, which just has one header, and the format that Ian took from the two-headed beast, as he calls it, which breaks it into a lot of subsets and changes the flow somewhat?
I got you. Like the subtitles, get rid of these guys.
Yeah,
That's
clear-
what I'm asking. I'm not saying, I'm asking.
Yeah.
What do you all think?
What was that, Matthew?
As I read the CABE document and compare it to the one that Ian found wherever, the longer document has subsets general description, revenue sources, allowable expenditures. And I think I think it makes it too blocky. I'd like a short document that just flows from top to bottom.
Okay, that sounds good. Excuse-
Bless you.
Thank you.
And
If we can
do-
get it on the front of one page, that would be a beautiful document.
So as they started out saying, the Groton Board of Education, the board, may deposit into non-lapsing funds account any unexpended funds from board's prior fiscal year. Do we say all that in here?
The first paragraph is pretty,
You know what you could do, Ian? Oh, go ahead, Ray, and then I'll jump in.
no,
was
go
gonna
ahead.
Okay, after like they do after the Groton Board of Education, just put board, and then in the next paragraph, where it says subject to order confirmation of, you don't need to say the Board of Education, just say the board's available year end, and that cuts out some, and all these things that said Board of Education, you could just say board, and that cuts out some words.
Okay, got that.
The longer piece, the general description, that just, to me, that most of that should just be part of the legal references. We don't need to put the legal references in a description. Let's get right to the meat of it, and you'll just give it at the end to give the citations, and somebody can look it up.
So you don't have to say pursuant to Connecticut general statutes.
Yeah.
So take that sentence out.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
if there's another document there, 248A, well, you already have it referenced for legal reference, so it's duplicative. We're
So
done.
you're gonna put a period after purposes?
I could, but actually I might want to cut further. Because I'm
Why
seeing this section
Okay.
here is redundant to the last section.
yeah, you're right.
So this and this are redundant.
Yeah.
So which one do we want to cut?
You
Okay.
pick.
Could leave the first one in and just chop it.
Don't we talk about educational purposes like in the third paragraph too? And we said that even floods would count. I feel like we just talked about that in another paragraph.
Okay, hold on a second. I think I kind of want to cut the first one. Let me just try that out real quick and see how it reads. Oops.
The first time we have non-lapsing reserve account, why don't you put after that parenthesis NLRA, and then we can use those 4 letters every time. We don't have to say the whole thing again.
Got it. NLRA, yeah. I like acronyms.
I do too.
I
We
don't.
But now we've
Tells-
defined it.
Could tell some of us work for the defense industry. I
National
did it
Labor
one time.
Relations
so-
Association.
Holy
We're an
smokes.
A, not a B. NLRB is the one.
Ian, can you find when we talk about educational purposes? Because we didn't have capital improvement as well. I think we were just saying educational purposes broadly.
Right.
Include, and I'm
capital
afraid if
would-
we say only for this, they're gonna take it literally.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Put include, comma, including capital improvement purposes. Or to include.
How about including but not limited to?
Fine.
Yeah, that
Great.
way it doesn't tie your hands.
Do we want to say for educational purposes, including but
Yeah,
not limited to capital improvement instead of the purposes being at the end?
yes.
He's got the magic eraser.
Don't you love group writing? My
Don't
best
you like all the
articles are with
comments
my
coming in?
friends. We always would group write.
Oh, a great way to crunch a document.
And the second place where it says Board of Education, on the next line, it can just be board. Third line down, it repeats Board of Education, just, you can limit,
In
shorten it
which
to.
paragraph?
In the for top paragraph, it says Board of Education.
Right above
twice.
your cursor.
Got it.
But Ian, make sure on the first paragraph, after Board of Education, in parentheses, you put board, so they know that's what you're gonna be doing.
Got it.
I thought he did that.
I did NLRA.
No.
I could do BOE, but yeah.
Nah, I don't.
The acronyms.
Andrea likes board.
All right, we'll do that. Just gonna, whatever.
I find the second paragraph to be very clunky. The content is fine. It just reads.
Subject to order confirmation of the board's available yet and just
I mean, does the audit imply that it's deemed available by the end of the fiscal year? Because audits happen at the end of the fiscal year. I mean, I could see maybe this getting pulled out to take some words out.
Now, with the audit confirmation, are we talking about the town's audit or our own internal audit? Because I don't want to be, then that might link their
Yeah.
oversight on it. So I think we have to be
We
careful
could-
with the word audit.
We could do an internal audit if you wanted to.
Do
as
we?
No, but what I'm talking about, we could.
I would just
because-
say take out audit, subject to the confirmation of the board's available year-end balance.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would
that's
too.
what I was saying. Yeah.
Because you're gonna see it monthly anyway. You're gonna know what the balance is on a monthly
Yeah.
basis.
Again, I think that audit language came from, well, I mean,
Yeah.
all the language came from documents that had town oversight. So that's
Stringent.
many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Integrated
I
language.
live in a town that has a lot of oversight over this, and it's try to spend it. It's like trying to pull teeth from an elephant.
Right.
So,
We know about that.
Yeah. I wonder if Jay's up to bat yet.
I don't know. I don't think
Nah,
so.
he-
It looked like it'd
Nah.
be 10 o'clock before he gets up.
It's pretty early still. Yeah.
No, he's not, because he's gonna text me and I'm gonna run up there. Oh, wait.
Alright.
Oh, no, he didn't text me yet.
All right. Subject to confirmation of the board's available year-end balance as deemed available at the end of any fiscal year. That's,
Why,
That's-
isn't that duplicative?
yes, it is. Get them out. And upon the recommendation of the superintendent and business manager or the designee, no later than June. So that's something I wanted to discuss was the dates, because that was language I found, that came from another document. I didn't make those up. I just try to, some had other dates from other parts of the year, like October and November. But to me, the ones that had the June 30th and July 31st ones seem to be like around the end of one fiscal year and the beginning of the other.
Right.
Again, I defer to you, Ray, as far as what you think might be a reasonable window.
I would recommend not to make that transfer or move until the EFS has been filed and you've been fairly well reconciled.
And when is that?
Probably, well, see, this town, we haven't even done we should have had an audit request for material from the auditors by now for this upcoming year, preliminary. They should have been pulling preliminary data. We
Well,
haven't
didn't
done
they
that.
say they always did it early spring and that wasn't true at
That's
all?
correct. That's what they claim that this past year that they've done that, but I don't know. I wasn't here.
Well, we'd never met with them. I mean, it could have been the town did.
Right. But preliminary numbers, they normally do the bulk of their draw in terms of testing from July through, let's say, April, maybe May. They'll do a big request. Then they only have a month or two to finalize everything. And it should be pretty clean by that time. So I would recommend by the end of September, at least you'll have a better idea on what you can move into. Because
But we can keep that. we can keep that excess revenue from the prior year in our budget? I always thought that they
It's-
asked us at
it's-
the end of like June to turn over the money that wasn't spent.
No, you can wait until your audit is done to turn it over. You don't have
Oh.
to turn it over immediately.
Well, that sounds safer to me.
I mean, I would wait until the audit is complete by the third-party audit firm
Mhm.
to confirm that, yes, if you have $100,000, you can move that and it's 2% of your previous year's budget, you can then move it over. But that's what I would do. So I would change that to June 30th. I mean, September 30th, if you want to be specific.
Yeah.
I mean, we can verbally announce that it looks like we may have, and most business managers will say at the end of the fiscal year, because we're gonna do a report toward the end of June anyway, and it's gonna say you're either very close, you may not have a lot of money to move into non-lapsing, or you may have 50, 100, 200,000 to move in now. Or like this year, you're not gonna have anything to move into non-lapsing.
I almost feel like, I'm sorry, Jay, go on.
No, I would not. If you were gonna do a vote June 30th, I would say we tentatively prepare to move it over pending the audit status in September.
But I think
Okay.
we've got the dates. It's confusing. So first we say the recommendation, based on the recommendation of the superintendent and business manager, or his designee. But then you need the approval, with the approval of the board no later than the September 30th.
Yes.
Thank-
That's what.
So I don't think you want to put
The
the
recommendation should be June 30th, but then their approval should be, say, September 30th.
That would work. That's better.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So the recommendation's on file.
Yep.
Approval pending, everything clearing out.
Correct.
Can we take out of any fiscal year? I mean, it's not incorrect, but what does it serve to have it there? We did given the date. Coincides with the end of the fiscal year, but what does it add to the document?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Everything's kind of already implied.
Yeah.
You've got a fantastic delete key there.
It gets hot sometimes. All right.
No later than
With
September.
board approval no later than September 30th.
30th. That's what I was talking about.
With board approval.
Yep.
You can take out the approval of the board, just put in board approval.
Got it. Do we need the little THs or what's legal? Do we need those?
No, doesn't matter. Suit yourself. I put a period at the end of that September 30th just to write a new start. The next thing is a new sentence.
Should be
This sentence, like, well, it's a very complex thought. There's thoughts within thoughts. And again, this came from a different document that I attempted to modify. So we may, but right now this is all like sort of a dependent clause. Subject to confirmation of the board's available balance on the recommendation. This is all pending or the designee no later than June 30th. So this is all like the setup.
You're correct.
Yeah. And this is the independent clause. There. That's the closer.
Correct.
It's William Faulkner level of dense text.
You need to study some Hemingway, I guess.
Yeah, he's a far more straightforward writer, or better yet, Kurt Vonnegut, who never trusted semicolons.
He had a grand falloon. No grand falloons here.
All right, what about the next sentence, Ian? The amount appropriated. Oh, wait. Where am I?
How about annual transfers shall not exceed?
Annual transfers, all right.
shall not exceed. And take out in the fiscal year.
No, I would leave that in.
Would leave that, okay.
It tells you where you're getting.
Well,
the
then
2%.
take out annual. If we've got the fiscal
Yeah.
year, listen, we just in transfers.
How about such transfers?
Why not?
That's good. That's good.
All right. Hey, okay, no, I just see it. We are still recording. All right. So we're now on the last, yeah, we are in the last sentence. So
Mhm.
investment income earned by the funds shall be held
Such
in,
as-
will remain in the,
Oh, man.
You see, this is,
Mhm.
the board normally does not create investment accounts.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
This is
Yeah.
why I'm saying the town normally holds the funds. And
Mhm.
we just send it to them.
What about interest income as opposed to investment?
Again, the Board of Ed is not in the business of creating
Okay.
investment income.
All
or
right,
sending-
right, so
Just
this,
take that whole,
yeah,
Take this sentence out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kill it, yeah.
take the,
Bless you.
thank you.
Next paragraph would be account expenditures require approval. Or NLRA expenditures. Lowercase e for expenditures.
Yeah.
Require board approval.
a board approval,
Just require board approval.
got it.
And then remove require approval by. In front of board, before board.
Ah, got it.
What do they say? Too many cooks in the kitchen?
I'm not touching this one.
Hey, this kitchen is cooking.
No, it's good.
I think I got lasagna in the oven downstairs.
Oh, you're lucky.
Oh, that's not right,
My
Ray.
daughter flew up from Florida, so when I got home, I threw the lasagna in the oven while my wife went to the airport to get my daughter and
Oh,
granddaughter.
good.
What time did you
Son
say
of
you
a-
were having dinner?
They already
Yeah.
started.
Oh, okay. Well, let's
Why do
hurry
we-
up then.
Why do we need the super?
Now, these we changed a couple of times already, so there shouldn't be much left to modify here.
Yeah, we're,
Alright.
I think once we get this paragraph set, we're back to where we started.
Right.
That first
Right, we're
sentence,
at the end.
the first sentence, NLRA expenditures, can that be tagged on to the last paragraph?
No, leave that there. That whole paragraph, you mean? What are
No,
you
just,
talking
no,
about?
just the first sentence of the highlighted paragraph. Well, in other words, delete everything after the first sentence of the highlighted paragraph and tag that one remaining sentence, NLRA expenditures, to the preceding paragraph. Would that make any sense?
I would hesitate to do that because in
Yeah.
the way I'm reading it is that first sentence. We're talking about expenditures in this paragraph. This paragraph up here was all about how we build the account.
You got a
Right.
point there.
Paragraph
Yep.
is how we draw.
Right.
from it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
This is how we're spending it. So
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
prior to any
I-
transfer period.
Got to cut something.
What you pay me for? That's what you pay me for.
No, that actually works. I like that. My OCD was kind of kicking in a little bit. I wanted to get superintendent up on that. So
now it fits on one page.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna,
That was the goal, wasn't it?
it was.
Yeah, I like that. I like those one pagers.
Yeah.
This actually looks
The
pretty
rest should
darn
be
good.
pretty good.
I think
Because
it's
we
good.
wanna, Yeah,
You're not tying your
Good job.
hands
Yeah.
and you're
Exactly.
able, right.
The only
So-
sentence I see in Cave that's not in here, and I don't think we need it, because I think we've said it in another way, the board shall create a non-lapsing fund and be responsible for the accounting of the funds in accordance with general accounting, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
we say it in different ways, and also like Ray said, like that's standard boilerplate procedure. Like that's, I mean, to say that we have to do it.
Yeah, we actually we're actually putting that into our procedures internally versus putting it in
Okay.
policy.
Oh, that's right. You did say that.
I'm just gonna fire back up here. It's
On
31,
that,
31 was. Was that the proposed number?
yes.
Yes.
How about on that third paragraph, second sentence? The board shall be notified by the superintendent or business manager within 30 days of any anticipated expenditure, dispersal.
My
What is it?
passive voice alarm is going off.
What
Uh,
happened?
I agree. Passive is always complaining when I'm on.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because who's doing the action? Who's doing what? The superintendent and or business manager can initiate the action. Shall
Right.
notify the board
Right.
within 30 days of any anticipated need.
And if that
Yeah,
need arises, it'll be days. It's not gonna be 30 days. Trust me.
Right.
The
You know,
board
again,
will
this
know
came
that.
from other documents, so
Oh,
I
no,
mean, yeah.
I wouldn't say to change that, but
yeah.
in my experience, if I needed to spend that money, you knew about it right away.
Mm. No, I'm fine with that paragraph.
I am too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and that brings us back to
That's the first one we changed.
Yep, that's the first one we changed.
crap.
Actually, nice
Yeah.
job.
Nice job.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So
Are we
I'm
bringing
gonna-
this to a first reading?
Yes.
next
the
week?
goal-
Yes.
I would.
Good.
I think we
Yes.
actually have it possible that we could get this through 2 reads and voted into place by the end of the month.
Yes,
Oh,
and
wow.
I got a note, you may all have
No,
seen
no,
this, but I got a note from Erica saying that it has been past practice to wait 30 days, but there is no requisite for waiting 30 days.
Got it.
I don't think you're gonna do it by the end of this month, Dean. We only have one meeting, and that's June 17th. And then
Right. I
June
guess that
24th.
would require a special meeting at some point.
Yeah.
But do we
Yeah.
need to do
So-
this? Do we need to do this in June in order to be able to set this up for next year?
Well,
You're not gonna have the money to.
Yeah,
No,
set
you
it
don't
up
have the
at-
money anyway.
No.
Huh?
I mean,
Well,
I
let's
would- I
put
mean,
that
I heard
1.4.
the Engel Foundation was under consideration.
I don't think so.
Uh, I don't think we need a special meeting. I think we could wait to July to get a second reading on
all right.
this.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I couldn't find anything in the law one way or the other. My only concern and my need for my sense of need for speed was to try to like get it in place before the start of the next fiscal year. But if that's not required, if it's a thing that we can install in the middle of, once a fiscal year is already underway, which again, I found options either way. I was just trying to play it safe.
Yeah, I
The
think
way
we'd be
you've written
safe.
it- I'm sorry, go on, Beth.
No, I think we'd be safe if we do it in July.
Yeah,
You-
because the way you've written it, it really goes out till September, right? You have to know that you have the funds. It does say that I'm supposed to notify you by June 30th, but at this point, I wouldn't be predicting that we would have anything.
Right.
And you,
I
and you
will
could-
go out on a limb. You don't have any.
Yeah. I figured that too.
And we already kind of in that motion that request we sent, we already kind of identified if we do end up with the best case scenario of the 1.4. The stuff that doesn't immediately get used will go to the health insurance account. So
Mm.
we already talked about that.
Yeah, we
And we
did.
still haven't dealt with the nurses, have we, Susan?
No,
Mm.
All right, well, I'll make a motion to, what are the magic words, Matthew, as far as,
Okay, Ian makes a motion to accept P 3171.1 as amended tonight for a first reading. Period.
I second that.
Thank you, Ian.
you're welcome, glad to do it. I have no further discussion on the matter, so I'm in favor of.
Bev? Anything else, Bev?
I'm done.
Okay, I'll take a vote. Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
All right,
Aye. And Bev's hand is raised. I'll take that as
She's
a
gone. Oh, there
three-
she is.
Three in favor, none opposed, none abstaining. Would you be kind enough, Ian, to send copy of the redacted version to everybody?
yes, I'll send V3 out to you and
Yeah.
And make
to-
sure we
and to
see
Erica.
Erica.
yes, I will include Erica. I don't know how she got dropped off the list the first time, but I'll get her this time.
Everyone, have a good night.
Thank you, Ray.
Bye,
You
thank
too,
you,
Ray.
Ray. Go enjoy your dinner.
Okay, thanks.
Have some red wine with it, please.
Perfect. Sounds like a plan.
All right,
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Thanks.
that's
So-
the end, that's the end of our list, or we got more?
now we have, that's the end of
Referral.
our list. We're going to go to the referral list. Does either of you have something you want to add to the policy referral list?
Not at this time.
Bev?
Not at this time. The only thing that the teachers mentioned tonight was the consistency in all the policies. They want, Susan, did you heard them say that, right, Susan?
We were talking about the cell phone was one example.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
So they want the policy to be, especially for the cell phone, the policy to be the same for all
Right.
levels. And they want all our policies to be more consistent.
I think it really relates to what they put in their handbooks. So their interpretation of the policy and almost their regulations on how they manage it. So I'll try to get more clarity on that though, Beverly.
So
Because
one
I
place
do
on
see that
consistency.
they need to really, I've gotten the middle school and high school to do a lot more talking, especially now that Matt is in place and Peter and Matt. So they really, it needs to be something like, even when we did the dress code, they worked on it together over the summer. So they need more collaboration like that. So it's more uniform, I think.
And the other thing maybe we could put on the referral list is the attendance policy. They want more teeth in that attendance policy. It
Right.
says they say it doesn't have enough teeth. It's a policy, but it's useless. That's what they're basically saying. It's a useless policy.
Okay, Bev, at the meeting, would you ask Jay to put it on our policy agenda? And you can make the
Sure
referral.
will.
Great,
I will send him an email.
that sounds terrific. Anything else before I share some stuff? Okay, so at our July meeting, we're going to start the discussion on the student cell phone policy. Where I see a problem is that we have a policy which allows individual faculty members to set their own standard. And so while we have a uniform policy, the way the policy is written leaves an inconsistent application.
That's
So-
exactly what I'm talking about.
So Susan and I had chatted the other night. Clint, Matt, and Peter will be joining us for our first go round in July. I will have a binder for each of you before the meeting, hope as quickly as I can, which consists of as many policies as I can find around the state. I've got about 15 so far.
All
So
right,
you can
don't
see
give me
what-
more than 15. That don't give me a whole bunch of stuff to be reading.
Well, you can,
15 is good.
okay.
Won't
Plus,
accept any less than 12.
What'd you say?
I will send you what I send you, and you can file it however you want.
Now,
the
I want to make
garbage.
sure Erica checks everybody. Erica also checks all the calendars for when people's vacations are. So I know I've got a couple weeks in July, it's kind of in the middle, and I've got to find out when the principals are taking theirs. So just
So
want to say
I
that.
would hope that our discussion, I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of the document. I'd like the discussion to be a global discussion of what our general, where we have some general consensus. And then we can, from there, move into the particulars. I would
Okay.
also, because I see this as an issue that is going to involve students, it's going to involve faculty. And so I would like at some point for us to have somebody from parents, somebody from faculty, and our new student, at least one of our new student board members participating in the discussion, because we need buy-in from everybody. There will still be people who object regardless of what we do, but I think that by having buy-in from the various constituencies will be very helpful for us. So there'll be a first discussion, and you know, whether we speak to Beth Horler to get representation or administration has a different idea, we can all discuss that. I don't expect this to happen in a month or two. I think this is going to take us some time, and I'm not in any rush to do it poorly. Anything else, guys? Or are we on board with that? Are you comfortable with that?
I think it does need to be looked at. And before I said the legislators are going to be looking at it anyway, but even if we can tighten up the way we do our policy before the next year, like the middle school, I think you heard that, Beverly, that the middle school has much tighter policy, Peter Bass. They really have to keep their phones away and out. So, you know, out of sight kind of thing. I don't know if that's even doable at the high school, but a lot of people are actually putting them in lock key protective things so that they can't use them.
But there are a variety of options. The other thing I forgot to share with you is I've been in touch with CABE, Jody Goller, who's their policy person. He has been sending me stuff. Old Line passed a policy last week. It's 2 paragraphs, no phones allowed on campus or at any on campus, either during the school day or at any school activity, period.
Wow.
I don't know
How
that
you
we want to go
monitor
that far.
that one? And what do you
Yeah.
do about it? Do you expel all those kids?
So I've also asked if we could poll other school districts. Not only, I want to know their process, and for those who have policies, I want to ask the old Brooklyn question. So how's it going for you?
We could ask CABE to do that, or I could ask CAPS to do that.
If
you want me
ask
to, I
Caps
could
to
ask
do that
Caps.
as well.
Yeah.
Jay has already sent, Jody said we needed a letter from Jay. So Jay is already writing a letter for the listserv for CABE. So I expect that by the time of our meeting, we'll have some more feedback. I think tonight, Ian, I can't thank you enough for what you've done.
Yeah, this is great.
This.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
You're welcome. Glad to do it.
Okay, I wish Andrea were here because I'd like a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor? Without objection. Have a wonderful night, everybody.